Hi, and welcome to the fourth video in our PowerShell Proxmox module series. So in the last video, we were actually able to create a new VM in our Proxmox, and we were also able to get the VMs in our Proxmox environment. So today we are going to be actually creating three new functions. We are going to be creating the ability to remove one VM. So we're going to be able to specify a VM name and get that VM removed. And we will also do the start and shutdown. Now, it's not going to be stop. You're going to see in the documentation for the API, we do have a stop and a shutdown. We are going to be using the shutdown because that does send basically the ability to basically press the power button on your machine and then do a clean shutdown or send an event for the guest OS to shut down. Because if we would use the stop, that would be as you can see here by the API documentation, similarly to pulling the plug on a computer. And we don't really want to do that because that could definitely corrupt data or anything like that. So we want to make sure that our commands that we're providing to our users in our module is the safe shutdown. Now the commandlet, we will still call it stop Proxmox VM just because shutdown is not an approved PowerShell verb. So we will use stop, but just to let you guys know, we will be using the shutdown API route. So before we actually go any further, let's actually go ahead and get started on working on those modules, those functions here. So let's go ahead and let's create our first function, which is going to be the remove Proxmox VM. So if we actually go into our documentation here in the QEMU and VM ID, there is actually a delete here. So that is going to be the route that we're going to be using. And as you can see, it is quite similar to our get command that we use to get all the virtual machines. So what we can actually do is we can actually pretty much use that function. But what we'll actually do for this one is we will write it out from scratch just in case you guys have missed it in the previous videos. So let's go ahead and let's just start that real quick. So we're going to do a function remove dash Proxmox VM. And we're going to do an open and close curly brackets. And then we're going to do a set of square brackets here. And we're going to put commandlet binding open and close parentheses. And then param open and close parentheses here. And then in here, in the parameters, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go and grab the parameters that we used in our get Proxmox VM just to not really have to type those out. The only thing that we will have to change is our VM name is going to be mandatory in this case. So we will put that mandatory equals true here. And that is going to be our parameter. So we need a connection, we need a node, and we need a VM name. Now you're going to be wondering, the API route for delete wants the VM ID and not the name. And that's okay because what we actually did is we did a get Proxmox VM. So we're actually going to be using our function in our new function to get us the ID of the VM we want to delete. And what's nice is because it already has error handling in this one, if for some reason you provided a VM name that doesn't exist, it will tell you that it can't delete because the VM name doesn't exist. So the first thing that we of course need to do in our remove Proxmox VM function is going to be create a VM variable, and we're going to make that equal to get dash Proxmox VM. And then we are going to pass in our connection that we are receiving. The node is going to be the node that we have received. And then the VM name is going to be the VM name we have received. And then we're going to go ahead and we are going to do a URI as well. And as we know, always the URI will always start with connection.base URI. And then we're going to do a slash nodes slash and then our node variable slash emu slash, and then in here we're going to put a variable wrapper and we're going to do vm.vmid. You might be wondering, how do I know that it's going to be the VM ID that we want to use? Well, we already have the get Proxmox commandlet that we have created here. So if we actually just go ahead and we run this, we will actually see our output. So here we can see our Ubuntu web VM. We have a VM ID, and that's what it's expecting. So that's what we're going to want to actually pass in. So we know that when we do this get Proxmox VM with the VM name, we're going to be getting that data back. So we're going to be getting our VM.VM ID. And then we're going to go into a try catch statement. So that's going to be a try and then a set of curly brackets and then catch and then a set of curly brackets. Inside of our try, we're going to create our response variable and we're going to make that equal to invoke rest method, our URI, which is just going to be our URI variable. For headers, it will be our connection dot headers. And then our method here will be the delete method. Our content type will be application / JSON. And we want to make sure that we have our skip certificate check here. And then all we're going to do is response equals response.data. And then we're going to return our response here. And then in our catch, all I really like to do is I'm just going to copy our catch that we have in our get Proxmox VM here. And we're just going to put that in our catch. And we're going to say error in trying to remove VM name from Proxmox server. So now we can go ahead and we can actually minimize this function here, load that into memory. And all we're going to do is we're just going to create a quick little VM here, which is going to be YouTube VM number 2. And then all we're going to do is we're going to do a remove Proxmox VM. Our connection is going to be our connection details as we've created it up here in the first video of our module. And then our node is, we're just going to specify our node here. And then the VM name here, we are going to put YouTube VM, and we're just going to put YouTube VM 3 here. So if we actually go ahead and we try to run this, so this VM does not exist. We can actually see here, we get error in trying to get content from Proxmox, error no VM, YouTube VM3 found in Proxmox server. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. If we actually go ahead and we change that to VM2, now before I actually run this, if we actually go look in our virtual environment, we can actually see the YouTube VM2 here, which has the VM ID of 105. And if we go ahead and we actually run this, and then we go back, we will actually see it just disappeared. So the 105, the YouTube VM2 does not exist anymore. So our remove Proxmox VM is fully functional. So let's go ahead and let's create our 2 other functions here, which are going to be actually really, really similar to each other. They're also quite similar to the remove Proxmox VM because we're going to be using just the start and the shutdown here, which is in the status in the QEMU VM ID. So very, very similar here. So what we can actually do is we're actually just going to copy that remove function that we just created. And we're going to change the remove verb to the start. And of course, we still need our connection, our node, and our VM name. We still want to get the VM because as we see, to do the start, we need the VM ID again. We don't need the VM name, but again, as I said, with our get Proxmox, we actually kind of bypass that and we make it a lot more user-friendly as just being able to pass the VM name. So once we actually pass in our VM name, we're going to then create our URI, which in this case is going to be /status/start here. And then what we actually also need to do is we will also need to create a body in this one because it is a post. And we can see that here by post. And we'll need a node and a VM ID. So let's go ahead And let's just go ahead and create that body here. And we're going to make body variable equal to an @ symbol and then a set of curly brackets. And then the first thing we're going to put is VMID, and that is going to be equal to our VM variable dot VMID. And then our node variable is going to be equal to our node variable. All right. And then in our try catch here, we can actually keep, again, it pretty similar. So our response variable is going to be invoke REST method URI, our headers. Our method will change to a post here. And then what we can actually do is we're going to put in our body parameter. Here we're going to wrap this in a variable wrapper. We're going to put our body variable. We're going to pipe that to convert to JSON. Once again, we're just going to put the depth of 100 here. And that should be good. And we're just going to update our error here. So error in trying to start VM name from Proxmox server here. So let's go ahead. Let's load that in to our memory. Let's go ahead and let's do a start Proxmox VM. And then our connection details. Our node is still going to be our node dot node here. And then our VM name, let's go ahead and let's see which one we want to start. We will actually go ahead and start this test module VM here. That's just an Ubuntu server. So let's go ahead and let's do a test module here. So if we actually go ahead and we can see that it is not actually running because it does say guest not running here. Let's go ahead and let's run this command. And if we actually go back to our screen, we will actually see the VM is actually booting up here. And we will see we do get to a login screen just here. That is awesome. We can see the little play button that says that it is actually running. And if we hover over it, we can also see the status is also running, which is awesome. And if we actually wanted to do this with our commandlets that we've created, we could also do a get Proxmox VM, of course, with those exact same parameters here. And if we do a get on that now, we can actually see that the status is actually running. So that's perfect. So now the only thing left to do is going to be creating that stop function. So that, once again, we can definitely copy over our start function, and we're just going to change the start to a stop here. Once again, we will go ahead and get that VM. And then instead of status / start, it's going to be status / shutdown. Now, again, if you put stop, that's going to simulate pulling that power cable out from the wall, and the server is going to shut down abruptly. You want to use the status / shutdown. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing. Our body is going to be our VMID and node, because we can see here in our documentation for the shutdown, it is still a post. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put that in there. And that pretty much stays the exact same at this point. And we can just change the error message of error in trying to shut down VM name. And we can go ahead and we can copy this and run this into memory. And if we then go and do a stop Proxmox VM, let's go ahead and let's just copy all of our parameters here. And once again, we can see that it is still running. It's still on the login screen. If we go ahead and we run this commandlet here, we will actually see that the server is now shutting down, and we can see that the guest is not running anymore. And if we do our get, once again, using our own module here, we will see that the status is stopped. So that is perfect. So now that is going to be it for our Proxmox PowerShell module series. I think that that's going to be quite a bit of functions to get you guys started. Now, of course, if you guys have functions that you guys would like me to add and make a video on, please feel free to put it in the comment section down below. We can always revisit this as well in future videos. But just to give you guys a quick little brief rundown on like what is capable of being able to be done here. So if you do have a QEMU agent on there, you can execute commands on a server. You can get the host name, get OS info, you can get the time, you can get some information, you can ping, you can do the shutdown through the agent as well. Um, you can take snapshots of a machine as well. You can do the cloning. There are a bunch of different abilities that you can actually do through the API of Proxmox. But again, if you guys have anything specific that you guys would like to see, please let me know in the comment section down below, and we can definitely go through those together and I can add those into our module. Now, the only thing that we would actually have to do later on, and this is actually going to be something that we're going to be doing on the next video, is converting this PS1 script into an actual module. So as far as creating any more functions, that part we are done, but we still have to create our actual module file, because as we said in the first video, I just created this as a .ps1. Now in theory, you can actually take all of this code out, save only the functions as a PS1, and then load that into a script, and it would actually work. But if you want to make a proper module, get that practice in, we're going to have to add some comments so people can do get help, and we're going to have to expose our functions. So that is going to be something that we do on the next video. Please stay tuned for that as well. And like I said, if you have anything specific that you guys would like to check and see me do on the next video for the Proxmox module, let me know. And after we create our module, we can always add more functions later on. So that's going to be pretty awesome to do. And then after that, we're going to be starting to take a look at some other technology that I said we would be taking a look at, including Ansible and getting some homelab and some more cybersecurity content going as well. Stay tuned for that. Please also, if you haven't done it already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Also, be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified when that next video comes out, and I will see you guys on the next video.